Alrighty guys, welcome back to the 18th week of our product development course in the programming language of Python, where every single week we are continuing to make progress on a project which we've been working on for the past couple of weeks. Right now we are making way on our fourth and final project in the programming language of Python. But do not worry when we say final, because we got some cool things coming up, which you guys will hear about in just a moment to recap about those. But as always, guys, thank you so much for coming out here today. And without any further ado, let's get started off with the thing we've all been waiting for the past couple of days. Of course, meme wars.
Meme war.
What? Oh yeah. I thought that was like a donkey now.
You guys know who we are right now. Sneaky, a senior at Cone High School. And Labdi and I just got that title for a couple more days. Being able to say that. What do you say when we're summer? Incoming, I say.
Yeah, incoming freshman in college.
Rising freshman in college.
Yeah.
Well, one last time with the senior at Cone High School logo. The meme is by Drake saying, a computer science degree, or would you rather have the ability to relate to memes? Now that's what makes a programmer a real programmer. Now the degree is pretty cool, I think, but once you're looking at these memes now, or the past month we've been doing meme wars now, you guys see these, being able to relate to them, that probably speaks a little bit more volume, right? Well, hopefully that is what you guys are feeling too.
And drumroll please. Let's go. I have a meme about AI. Also, shout out to the line before that. We are only seniors at Kona High School for 2 more days. After that, you guys may not call us seniors because we have moved on. But okay, back to.
And we will call you college students.
Me explaining my model that it needs to work, or else I'll lose my job as, I don't know, an AI architect or something. And this is what my model does. It calls a human a horse. And that's a challenge that a lot of people face when they're working with AI. AI nowadays is a huge topic where a lot of people, a lot of coders, noobs, they want to learn. But what we don't know about AI, or some of us know, is that it's not always accurate, and it's the field of AI is still growing. So yeah, that's my meme.
Are you a horse?
I didn't really get the part where it's it says my model.
So my model, okay, that's a cool question. So AI, artificial intelligence, has models. So basically, think of them as brains. All of us have different brains. That's the same logic that goes with models. That model is a brain telling you what a subject is, and you want that brain to tell you that that face is a human, but it's calling that face a horse. So yeah, did that clear things up? Avanish?
AI is something which we've covered slightly in our
Okay.
Avanish, but we like the memes. Let's hear in the comments. We got a couple of those. We got Labdi, Rishi going with Labdi, Chase going with me. Alrighty.
Is there a tiebreaker? Someone breaking the tie?
I think Ryan wins it for today, because I didn't really get the my model meme. So I'm just gonna give it just for this one day.
All right, I understand.
Alliances have shifted. Alrighty, well, now let's move on towards a recap, which we talked about this past Monday, that regarding our summer programs coming up, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, starting on June 8th, 2021. Remember, guys, we are in summer going to be having 3 weekly programs as opposed to 2, being the first every Monday, Web Development Bell Day. We're going to be tackling problems similar to algorithmic programming, but instead with the language of JavaScript now. Then every Tuesday, we're going to be doing something completely new, a bit new to me and Lobby myself, that being an MIT App Inventor, where we will be creating apps which we're not only going to be able to code with block code and a little bit of typing code, but also able to test with our own devices. So say you have an iPad, tablet, any device which has a camera, that will be especially useful because you can actually run whatever you make on your phone. So that'll be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for that. And then we're going to continue this trend of making projects. But the reason why I said final at the beginning of today's product development course was because we're not going to be using Python anymore. As you guys can see, we're making the transition to JavaScript. Going to be making more of a transition to JavaScript, utilizing something called HTML, CSS. We'll talk more about that as well. And working with more visual stuff. So you guys will be able to create physical products on websites. And you guys should be excited for that. And then, of course, we got to keep going. The video gaming hour every other Thursday. Come out, we're going to play some games. And speaking of video gaming hour, we got it this Thursday. So in the chat, if you want to drop any ideas, we can we played Among Us a bunch. If you guys want, not sure if you guys want to do that again, but any new games, whatever the case might be, we can do that this Friday. So stay tuned for those.
All these summer programs started Tuesday the 8th at 1 p.m., right?
Yeah,
All
that's
running.
exactly what the slide was. Perfect.
Yep. So June 8th, guys. Remember, the first week we're just going to be like a break week. So spend that however you'd like. Take a week off from your coding brains, but then start making that transition to website.
All right, and what we are working on today. For the past few weeks, we've been working on this cool idea of making a population simulation, basically simulating a whole community of people. So we started off with getting a bunch of names from a huge array, saving that, and then calling those names, and then making 100 people, and basically what the step we are in right now is trying to make those people go through events, which will indicate whether they have COVID or not, or when they die or when they live, basically. And this population simulation will basically give us data at the end. So once we do run that code and it works perfectly, it will give you data based on how many people you started off with, how many people are still alive, who had what, and then who went through what sort of events.
Exactly. We got Avanish saying that can we add our questions, our names in the names.py file. We'll do that, Avanish, before next week. We'll add everybody's name. And who knows, the probability of our names being selected is pretty low, but we'll still add that for you guys.
In fact, I'll just add it when Rayan is coding on the screen.
Alrighty, a quick recap from last week to make sure we all know what we're going towards this week. That being last week, we finished up we went over our class functions. Remember, we talked about 2 important functions. We'll do a quick review today, but anybody remember what those are? Right now, those 2 important functions in class?
I know both of them. One of them starts with an A and the other one starts with an M.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Playing some Hangman out here?
I forgot the rest of it though.
Alrighty, well, we'll
mutator.
Yeah, mutator.
Yep.
Accessor, yeah.
Yep. 100%. Great. So we'll do a quick recap of what those are, and then we finished up our events function, which brings us to what we're going to be doing this week.
Today's goal will be the evaluate function. Basically, what I said before, we'll look at people's health. We're going to see who survives, so who's alive, and we're going to use conditionals, so if and else statements, basically comparing the person's state of being to a certain state of being that we were checking for. And then if that's true, we say that what the person's health is, or whether they are surviving or not.
Exactly. So to get off, before we get started, a quick reminder of what the accessors and the mutator functions are. Before actually, anybody remember? Avanish, Chase, you guys are telling us the names. Do you guys remember what they are?
Accessor, it only has one line of code and it just accesses like the information you put.
Yep.
Mutator can change the information you put from the accessor and can also change like the variable.
100%, exactly. Yep. So accessor means access information. We're just returning the value of what an instance variable is in the class, and then a mutator is where we're actually going into the function and changing the value of a variable. So just 2 functions which we'll be continuing to utilize today. But with all of that out of the way, let's get towards coding, and let's head on over towards our website.
Let's see who goes on the route first.
Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Please rickroll it. Can you please don't rickroll us again?
It would be too soon. If I did it today, you guys would know. Not today.
Last time that I did it, I was signed in under 2 accounts. So oh wait, I think I didn't get it this time. Oh wait, I might have.
Yeah, I won. I won.
Oh no, I saw you. I saw your thing telling me that you joined. Yeah, I think I got this one first. Because I got your notification that you joined. But
I was first, yay.
Last time I signed back in under myself. So if I typed in anything under one of the other ones, I would get the notification anyways. So
Alrighty, so as we're getting back in, just gonna do a quick recap of what we were doing last week, that being mainly the events function. We added good events, 3 good events, and 3 bad events, which could happen to people. And then we use the, what type of is this an accessor or a mutator? Because we're changing a value. So that is a
Mutator.
Exactly. We use mutator functions in order to change the values of variables relating to our people. Now, I was doing a quick little thing right here because it looks like in one of our mutators, we forgot to change the value of the variable. We created a new feeling, but we actually got to go and change the person's feeling to whatever the new feeling is like that. And then we got their economic status we're changing along with their COVID-19 status as well. Now, today, we already got step 1 finished. We got the class about the people done. We got step 2 finished as well, creating our people. Step 3 with the events function. And now, moving on towards step 4 before we head on over to step 5, that being working with who will be the people surviving. And in order to determine that, we have to do some evaluation, looking at the variables we changed. So looking at how does their economic status impact their health? How does their feelings impact their health? And how does the COVID-19 status impact their health? Now, all 3 of these we're going to use in order to see how they impact their health. And once we've been able to change their health according to whatever happened with these 3 mutators, then we'll say if their health is less than 10 or something of that sort, we can use a conditional. We are going to remove them from our population.
Wait, why does it say print high on line 174?
Placeholder above. Somebody just gave us a placeholder.
Yeah, I just put a placeholder so there's no errors.
Thank you, Rishi. Yeah, Replic's a bit weird with that, so thanks for doing that. Yep. So that's going to be the goal today, guys. Getting off started. Firstly, in order to evaluate this, we have to see how is their health impacted. So in order to do this, we first got to go through all of the people. Now, when I'm saying going over all the people in the array, what are we thinking of? How do we do that? We have
2D array?
Yep, so we have an array, and in order to access and go over each person, we use a
accessor.
So if we want to go through iterate, when I say the word iterate, yep, I want to repeat that.
For loop.
Exactly.
We need to go over the comment to repeat over the array, which is basically the parameters.
Yep. So whenever we want to go over an array, meaning iterate over an array, going through each element in the array, we always think of a for loop. So what I'm going to do is just use the for loop. I'm going to say for x in range, that's the variable we're going to iterate over, for x in range of the length of our, there's no filler happening today. That's weird. I'm going to refresh this. Let's see if that makes a difference. Or usually it fills in for you, which is nice. Internal error.
What PC do you have?
I got a laptop, a Mac.
Oh, so you just connected to the monitor?
Yeah, I got a monitor on my left, yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty, so hopefully we got some autofill going on now. So the length of, oh, nope, no autofill.
Wait, my whole replit says main.py contents diverged.
Oh, if I refresh, do you guys go away? Let me
Yeah, it says choose server changes or choose my changes.
Now I know for sure that I was the first one.
Choose server changes.
Yeah, I just chose that.
Okay.
Oh, I pressed choose my changes and it just got away.
Oh.
So whatever. I don't.
But that might be not the safest.
Yeah, always go with the server changes because that's what we got going on Labdi and I are at the end of me and Labdi. So
Better be safe than sorry, Chase.
All right.
Looks like I'm being sorry.
So okay, we're going over through each person in our population array, and now what we have to do is get their COVID-19 status, see how that affects their health, their feelings, and their economic status, and then use that in order to change their health status. Now, when I'm saying change their health status, I'm going to go back to my class and make sure that we got a mutator which does that for us. And in this case right now, we only have 3 mutators, so we got to add a mutator which will change their health status. So I'm going to say change because we have a variable, yep, for health. So change health. We're going to do, remember, we always need a self to access any variable. And then we're just going to use another parameter effect because that's going to be how we're going to change it. And now what we're going to do is, so since this is a mutator changing a value, I'm going to say self dot the person's original health is now equal to whatever health I am passing in. This will change whatever their health is. We have, remember, 5 different types of health, and we'll be utilizing these to evaluate who survives and who doesn't. But before we can get there, we have to see how their health changes. So we can first start off with their economic status. So we can say if the person we're currently looking at. So in order to do that, anybody remember what the syntax is? We have our population array. This was something we did on Monday. How do we access that?
Is it like underscore init underscore?
So that's the initialize function, remember, for our class. What about when we want to access, say, the second index in our array? Remember what we got to do for that? We had these different types of brackets. Like this.
Yeah, after that, and then you said new.
So then we're looking at who the X index. This is going to go through every single person, right? So whoever's at that index, and then we got to use the mutator or accessor. Oh.
See, yeah, this is what it says.
Well, I'm going to choose my changes because that's what I got on my end. But if you guys ever have that, be sure to choose server changes. Alrighty. So now if I want to retrieve what their economic status is, retrieve, am I going to use the mutator or the accessor?
Accessor.
Repeat that.
Oh, I think mutator, you change it to, I think, accessor.
Exactly, yep, because I want to retrieve the economic status. So I'm going to say get person economic status. And then what I'll say is if the economic status, we had the key, right? How much is out of 1, 2, 3, and 4 is just a joke. We got the living the Tech Bytes life. So we'll say if their economic status is less than, we can do less than, I guess, 2, which is 1. So if it's equal to 1, then we will say that this will impact their health. Now in real life, there's obviously going to be many more factors which impact a person's health more than their economic status, but just for the case of our simulation, toning it down, we'll say that this will impact their health. Now, if their economic status is a 1, this will negatively impact their health, which means we got to change their health now. So we're going to do the same thing now, accessing whoever person we're looking at. But now, if I'm saying I want to change their health, am I going to use the mutator or the accessor?
The mutator.
Exactly, Jason. Can you remind the class why?
Because it'll like help by, I don't know. I'm having trouble remembering this.
I think you were about to say like change the value, like mutate your.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yep. So the reason is we're gonna have to change the value. So what I'm gonna say, we lost somebody. Our array dot change their health status, and then we'll change their health status to. So we have it out of 5, right? We'll do we'll say they're sick. Change their health status to 3. And now we're going to continue the similar idea for the other types of statuses as well. So I'm going to do it, say else if the same person we're looking at their feelings. So we're going to use the accessor to get their feelings. So get person feeling is equal to, we had this out of, let's see, there were 5 different feelings. So if their feelings are less than a 3, less than or equal to a 3, because that's when the sadness starts. So we'll say less than or equal to a 3, then, oh, did I flip this? Then what we're going to do is change their health status once again. So the population array, whatever it is at, what person we're looking at, change health status to we'll change it to, we're going to keep 1 for COVID, 2 for sick, so we'll change it to a 3. Or if they're, we'll make it 2 actually for this one, and then we'll do 1 for COVID. I think. Do we have a flip? No. Okay. All right. And now our last condition. Lobby. I got this. Do I have this flipped or no? I got it right the first time, right? Like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then our last condition is looking at.
Oh, isn't it Ella?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking JavaScript right now. Okay, I've been too much JavaScript. Yeah. So Elif. Yes. Here's a sneak peek for you guys for the summer, but we're in Python still. So. Yeah. So we're gonna look at the last status, that being the COVID-19 status. So we'll say dot get, once again, person COVID status, the accessor. And then if this is equal to if they have COVID, which was, I believe, a 0. Yep. No, a 1, meaning they have it. This means that they're unfortunately going to be on the dying stage of their health. Hopefully not dead. So change. Health status to a 1. There we go. So this for loop is just looking at the impact on a person's health. Now, this is going to be changing the people's health, and we can even print it out. So we can go ahead and say we'll look here, we'll print out, we'll say original health of the person, and we can see if it changes. We can access their original health by looking at whatever person we're at, get person, come on, there we go, get person health, and then we will look at their health after these conditionals have ran. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and run.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, I know, like, this is like, playing devil's advocate. We have if, elif. What's the difference between putting if, elif, or if?
Yeah, don't you put if, else, and then elif?
No, what I'm saying is, why don't we just check for all 3 statements instead of checking for one statement? And if that's true, then we don't check for the other 2.
Yeah. So, anybody
Because-
understand what you saying? Yeah.
Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, you have to add an else, I'm pretty sure.
Why?
Because it's an else if, sorry. So it's an else if. So you have to have an else case. It's just how the compiler works. You have to have an else case because you have to have an else case for any other input that may come in or any other things that might happen.
Well, so Rishi, that's the thing. Having an else is usually a really good coding practice, but I think what Lobby's trying to say right here is, what if the person's economic status is a 1 and their feelings are also less than 3? We're going to be go ahead and changing their, well, actually we won't, because if one of these conditions is met, then the other won't, right? No, we should be fine.
Because it might like keep changing it in there. Like it might change it to 3, but then it might change it back down to 2 and then down to 1 instead of just having it as a 3 like we want.
Yeah.
Yep. And the way we have, so that's a really good idea to think about. The way we have our code set up right now is, if this first condition is not met, but the second one is, then the health status will change to a 2. And then since we have an else if, this other condition, it won't even be evaluated because we're going to be escaping the scope, essentially, of this whole if statement. So in this case, I do not believe we have to worry about that, but that is a good idea. In future coding practices, you want to make sure, because that's the thing with tricky, which makes for loops tricky when you're code tracing, because values can change, and you want to make sure that you're making sure that the values of your variables don't change when you don't want them to. So with that understood, let's take a look at how the people's health change before and after. We will call this function now after the 10, we're going to call this at the end of every single day. So in our outside for loop, anybody remember what this format's called? Quick little bonus point right here. We had 2 for loops, one inside another from last week.
3D array.
Nested for loop.
Successor.
Yep, like nested for loop. That's the key word. So we're going to make sure their indentations are correct. And after 1 day where the person has gone by, we will call this function to evaluate their status, seeing how that changes. Make sure that the tabbing is correct. I think it is. Yep. Alrighty. So we're going to see a bunch of output coming out, but just to see.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Line 188. There's a print error. It says invalid syntax.
Okay, I found it. Let's see if you guys found it too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the really important things when working with mutators and accessors is that even though Rishi got it? You know what it is? Go ahead.
Wait, hold on. So it's get person age or health?
It is get person health, but there was something missing.
One little tiny bit. There we go. And just make sure that we got the right function because there we go, get person health. There we go. So these brackets, essentially these parentheses, are super important. We need these because we're calling a function. And with that, hopefully our error should go away. We got one too many. Looks like 188.
Is it like those errors where you just need a comma or like a quotation?
There we go. Okay. So if we do not run this, is there giving an error?
Oh.
Okay, this might be one of those things. Let me try refreshing. I think the code's all right.
This is why you use an IDE like PyCharm or Visual Studio to actual code.
What is happening? Oh wait, we got an extra parentheses right here. Hold up.
Ah, yeah.
Change the name population array. There we go. Okay. Well, let's see if that works.
Why is it not printing?
So there should have been another error. What's that? Let's run this again. Why is it being like this? Okay, let's refresh once more. Alrighty, so we got our mutators with the parentheses. Those are all good.
Let me try running this in a PyCharm IDE to see if it's a replit thing or our code is buggy.
Okay.
And then another thing that I was gonna say is, you know how we kept writing code, for the past few weeks, and we didn't really test it out, especially like running the the mutators and accessors. I was gonna say it then, but I figured it's gonna come anyway. But the longer you keep, the more time you keep between running your code and testing it, even if it's like simple statements, the more prone you are to getting bugs. So test every single thing you type. That's just some advice.
Why is nothing popping up?
Guys, we're not calling the function, the most obvious stuff. We always forget this.
Oh, okay.
We're not calling events. There we go. Now.
Very nice.
There we go. So I don't even need. Okay, what's going on now? We got an error missing a argument. Change economic status. Where are we using that line? 150.
Argument effect.
Oh, we're not changing economic status. So what are we changing it to? So we changed it to 3 was the highest, right? I think. What do we have?
We should probably make like an we should make a file like a Python file like names.py. We should make like a situation.py that has like all the situations that can happen, and then we can add more instead of like clogging up like the entire thing.
Yeah.
We can have for everything that happens, we can have like a different py file.
Definitely.
Great.
All right, so we got a bunch of people's health changing. People changing from 3 to 2. Now, one thing which I'm noticing is that right now we're not seeing many people or anybody's health changing to a 1. Now, the reason why we can infer that's happening is because this last conditional, it's never being reached, because chances are that one of these first two is usually being met. Now, we want this last conditional to be met, meaning their health status to change. So what we can do is say, because the COVID-19 status, a person's COVID status is more important than their economic status in determining their health, right? If you have COVID, you're more in danger of your life, right? As opposed to your economic status. So what we're going to do is replace all of these with if statements. And this will essentially, there's like a level of importance, right? Economic status is, I guess, one we could say, but this makes sure that economic status is not given more importance than COVID-19 status. And essentially what will happen is...
So since it's more important, it's on the bottom.
Yeah, but in this case, since these are individual if statements, they aren't dependent on one another. So even if economic status is
so wouldn't it be like, because if something is met like in the first if statement, and then it's met in the third if state, like something else is met in the third if statement, it's going to take the stuff from the third if statement instead of the first one, right?
Yep. So that's what we sort of want to do. We want to prioritize that their COVID-19 status is more effective, more impactful towards their health than.
So least impactful is economic status out of those three.
Yep.
There we
go. We see many more people changing from 1 to 2s. Choose a lot of output coming out. Alrighty. So we got a lot of people changing. We all can also see our different events we got going on. So we got through the 9, the 10 first days.
Why does nobody have 3s? I see no more 3s.
Yeah, that's...
Where did that go? Where did the 3s go? I think like sometimes they're being met like most of them they're getting met with like 3, and then they're getting met with like 2 or 1.
Yep. Now, if we were to make this a bit more realistic, what we would probably do is use some Booleans and checking if, say, economic status is met, then don't look at something else. But if not met, then you are supposed to look at these two. But just for timing purposes, what we're going to do is just move on and start looking at the next part of the evaluation phase. That being looking at how their health status determines if they are going to continue in the next day or not. So what we are going to do now is create a new function, which we will call from this evaluate people status, called determine living status. How about that?
The second if statement we could change to else if. You could change the second if statement to else if. Then it has a chance to do 3 or 2.
That's a good idea. Let's see what happens if you do that. Oh,
still line 184.
I did still in JavaScript mode.
198. What do you mean?
Because this function does not have any code in it. So let's hit run. If you got any more 3s, maybe? Oh yeah.
I saw a few 3s.
Good idea, Yushia. So we got some more 3s, we got 1s, and we got some 2s. So that helps out. Cool. Now we can look at their status and see how this will come into play. What we're going to do again is loop over the whole array. So we're going to do 4x in range of the length of our population array. And what we're going to do is use a conditional to check how is their health doing. So look at whatever person we're currently looking at, get their health status, so get person health. And then what we're going to do is see if their health is equal to, I believe we had 0 and 1 being, we had 1 being dying. Or yeah, so if it's equal to a 1, that means that we're going to say hasta la vista to them and essentially destroy their person. And what that means in our case is that we're going to be removing them from our population array, and that they will no longer be advancing on towards the next day. So what we're going to do now is say, do some removal of the person. So population array, whatever the person is, or we can do is population array actually dot remove, and we're going to remove the current index we're looking at. And this way, this is essentially emulating the idea of survival of the fittest and removing whoever it has gone weak and they only have, they're in the last stage of the health status. Now we can, that is the only thing which we will need to do for this week at least with our determining the living status of the person. We have to call this function when we are done evaluating all of their economic status, their feelings, and their COVID-19 status. So let's call this function from within here. You got a question?
No.
Okay. Alrighty, and now we can hit run. See much more of this.
Well, that kind of the outcome doesn't make sense because, like, in one day it said you got fired in your job, and then the other day it says you got into a job, you got promoted in a job. So, like, is that going to be like touch base to base, like into real life? Because it's like you get fired that day, and then the next day you get promoted. That means you did get a new job, and then the next day you did even promoted, and then the next day you just come back to fired.
Yeah, we should set like
Then you got COVID-19, and then you go get promoted again. Like, how would they let you get COVID and then go?
Yeah, so we should have an if statement for that. That if like that has happened, like if you've been like fired, then you can't
maybe it
be
shouldn't
promoted.
happen like once more again.
Yeah,
like you
you
shouldn't
can have
like
like to repeat or something that is related. Repeat.
So that's 100% correct. I would totally agree with that logic. The only thing is that for time purposes, we made it like that. If we were to make this like an actual project, which we would spend like a couple days a week and build over, it would have to be much more robust. Like it wouldn't be, oh, one day got fired, next day you're getting a promotion. That wouldn't happen. But just for time purposes, you're right. I agree with you on that case. But so just pretend, I guess, for now. But
You got fired twice.
Yeah, no, simulations take a long time just because of what you guys are saying, like putting in all of those conditions, if this is true, if this is true. And actually, I created a simulation in my Java class. I'll show that to you guys next week. And that took me
Can
like
you show that before
2
like
months,
we
so,
play
yeah.
Among Us this Friday?
Oh, sorry.
Can you show us this Friday?
Yeah, I can do that.
so
Oh yeah, I just realized we have video game hour this Friday.
And so I'm still in JavaScript mode, but we're going to use a different function. So in Python, there is something called .remove, and there's something.
I have to leave, so yeah.
All right, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
See you Friday. And there's a different function called .pop. Now the difference between these two functions is that .remove, it removes a specific item from a list. So say we have a list of 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. .remove, if I put in the number 3, this will remove the number 3 from the array. However, if I don't know what's inside of the array, Python has a neat function called .pop. And this removes, like we said, the index is shown up. It removes a certain index, which is what we want in our case. Not sure what we got going on there. Here, we do not want our events function to run 100 times. That would be 100 squared, which would be too many. All right, we got another error. We got send your help. Oh, yes. Okay, so we're changing the size of our array while we have a for loop going on, which is always an interesting idea. So the reason why we're getting this error is because we're removing certain people from our array, right? But the problem is that we're using our population array right here, and if the size is changing in between, so say we're going 10 days, right? If the size of the population is changing in the 5th day, then we're going to get an out of range error because we're still looking at the people who aren't even there anymore. So in order to avoid this, what we can do is whenever we have a day finish and we're calling our evaluate people status function, we can create a new array, which we will look at. That's something we can do.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the most efficient idea for us what to do. Yeah. So that's what we can do. We can just create a new array. We'll say survive population. Set that equal to just an empty pair of brackets for now. And then instead of removing from our array, we will add whatever the person object is. So what we're going to do is say survive population dot append, and then we will add the current person object. Like such. And in order to make sure that we're adding the fittest of people, because right now what we have it as that this would likely add repeats of people, right? Since we're appending every day, the next day, the next day, the next day. What we can say is to make sure that we avoid that issue, we can just reset our survive population array to nothing to make sure that we do not run into that error. So whenever that this function is called, we have to remember, since this is a global variable, we'll say we're going to reference our survive population, and then set that equal to an empty pair of brackets like such. And in this case, what we're going to do is, since we're going to be adding people who are healthy, we're not going to look at if their health status is 1. We'll only add them if they're the fittest of the fittest, if they got a health status of 3. So now, if we go ahead and run this, we should see no more errors. Fingers crossed. Yep, there we go. But now is the time for us to check out who is actually surviving in our array, in our population array. And that will bring us towards next week, where we will finish up with step 5, seeing who is the last group of people surviving. And more likely than not, we'll have multiple people who have survived. So what we can do is do some Hunger Game conditionals, add something. Let's say there's 10 people left, you guys will battle it out, and we'll have one victorious person stand out. And who knows, Avanish will add you guys' name. It could be your...
Yeah, she already added it. So.
Oh, great. Okay, there we go. So we'll take a look at how that works next week. But this week, our recap, we worked on our evaluate people status function, and we have determined who is surviving each and every day. Next week, seeing who will pull off the Katniss Everdeen. So stay tuned for that. Alrighty, guys. Well, that brings us till the end for this week's product development. We are coming to a close. Next Wednesday is going to be our last one for this month of May, before we take a 1-week summer break and go off towards our web development courses. Remember, this Friday we got Video Gaming Hour. It looks like the consensus is Among Us, so I guess Among Us it shall be again. But in the summer, we got to start looking at some new games, because Among Us is getting tiring. Other than that, guys, nothing much more for us. Take care. Have a great week. Catch you guys Friday. See you guys.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you.